Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us to our July Economic Development Committee meeting and for following us typically from the first Wednesday of the month. Because of 4th of July, we're holding it this month on the 10th. So we're happy to have you all here. We're going to go ahead and start with some introductions. I am Trish Christensen, President and CEO here. Kelly, since you were just near your mic, we'll go to you.
Good morning, everybody. Kelly Talent, Property Manager for Vintage Fair Mall and Board Chamber Member.
Yeah, there you are. Lakita, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lakita Hakabe, and I am a new member to the San Joaquin Regional Rail Commission, and I will be working with our partner agencies in Stanislaus and Merced counties. Glad to be here.
Joining us, Dana. Hi.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Dana Ferrer, Regulatory Analyst for Modesto Irrigation District.
Thank you. Hi, Gavin. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, I'm on the road. My name is Gavin Klein, and I'm with the Office of Congressman John Duarte.
Joining us. Sir, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Tom. The last name spelled A-U. I've been living in Modesto for 8 years now. I'm actually retired and looking for something to do.
That's a great place to be.
Anna Genesi, I'm with Parker. I'm the Director of Education and Communication.
Education and communication with
Farm Bureau.
Farm Bureau.
Stanislaus.
There are presenters today.
I'm Katie Diemel. I'm Executive Director at Stanislaus County Farm Bureau.
Ramon Mendez, welcome to member of the Modesto Chamber, and I do marketing for Catherine Ramos, who has this Grow Innovation. She's a website designer.
I'm Peggy O'Donnell and the Valley Promotions and Chamber Board.
Laura Ward for Promotional Marketing on Chamber Board.
Sir.
Cecil Russell, I'm the Planning Commissioner for the City of Modesto, Executive Director of the Graffiti Museum, Community Volunteer.
Nice. Thank you. Check our agenda here. Okay, we will then move right into presentation. Okay, are you both presenting and
Yes.
you want to stand up?
Yeah, if that's okay.
Whatever you like.
Does your
Yeah, stop
living room and accommodate for that?
Cheers. PowerPoint up. Sorry.
Hey, it's working. Perfect. So we can reintroduce ourselves. So Anna Genesi, I am the Director of Education and Communication with Stanislaus County Farm Bureau. Just a little bit of background on me. I've worked most of my career in either the regulatory side of the ag or the compliance side of the ag. So pretty blessed to be part of this team and can bring some of those programs forward through Farm Bureau, serving our about 1,400 members here in Stanislaus County. We are the second largest county farm bureau in the state. We become just second to President County. We hope to beat that by the end of the year. We got a great staff and somebody who promotes membership and does a fantastic job. So be looking for that. We're number one around October or so.
Yeah, early. We're ready. Katie Diemel, I'm Executive Director. I've been in my role about 2 years, but I'm about 10 years in with Stanislaus County Farm Bureau. And yeah, I grew up in timber. My dad was a forester on Stanislaus National Forest. So I'm born and raised in Tuolumne County, live in Tuolumne County, commute down to Modesto, work down here. Agriculture has just sort of been my passion, and advocacy is where I found my role. In addition to this, I also serve as the Executive Director of the San Joaquin Water Quality Coalition. And so we do regulatory compliance work for growers around the irrigated lands program. So anybody who irrigates their property and then sells a product from the land they irrigate has to comply with this program. And so about 25 years ago, 22 years ago, I guess. Ways and several people were sitting around the table and nobody really stepped up to cover our region, and thus Farm Bureau kind of became the mechanism to do so. And so we serve kind of in a regulatory compliance, arena too at Farm Bureau in many ways. And so we'll kind of cover some of those areas there. And then I guess personally, my background too, my husband and I own and operate a pack station near Pinecrest, California. So we take people on extended wilderness vacations. Via horseback and pack all your gear on mules. So kind of a weird little niche I'm in there, but I like to tell people all about that too. So with that, we'll go ahead and jump in. Oops, sorry.
Oh, so last time we were all together, and I think there's a couple familiar faces, we kind of talked about who's Farm Bureau, what are we up to, and it seems like we got some newbies today, so just a brief recap of who Farm Bureau is. We're a nonprofit membership-based organization who plays in the advocacy role, so we advocate on behalf of farmers, ranchers, and dairy. We survive on membership, but as Katie mentioned with ESJ, we've diversified in the services that we provide, which allows us to have a 7% staff now, which is kind of remarkable in terms of farm bureaus. So today we wanted to focus on bringing you kind of up to speed on some of the challenges. Thanks, we had agreement, right? Some of the challenges in agriculture, and then some wins, because it's not all bad. So we'll go through a few things today. We're gonna kick off by talking about DPR, and Katie and I will dig deeper into these as we move through. What's going on in Sonoma County right now that could directly impact our county. We're gonna talk about insurance and favorite. And then card check, which is unionization on farms, and how there's been some really groundbreaking changes as to how unions can come to fruition and what that means for our growers. Okay, so first and foremost, I'm going to talk about DPR, Sustainable Pest Management. So Department of Pesticide Regulation is the California entity that regulates agricultural pesticide use in California. So that's a whole mouthful, but basically what folks need to know is farmers, ranchers, and dairymen cannot just go to a chemical dealer and buy products and buy pesticides. There is licensing, certification, continuing education requirements, exams, and then all of this is done under the advice of a pest control advisor who is certified in both pesticides and agronomy to make decisions about what pesticides should be used, how much of them should be used, when they should be used, that other stuff. And to not get super political, but right now having a Democrat in the governor's seat and a Democrat in Washington, DC, the kind of checks and balances that we maybe benefited from when we had a Republican president have kind of withered away in the last several years. And what has happened now is DPR, regulation, is making some pretty huge changes in terms of our ability to access these products. And it's a tool, right? Pesticides aren't the only thing that we use to manage pests, weeds, you name it, but it is a tool. And sometimes it's the only tool that works. So a year and a half ago, DPR came up with sustainable pest management. This is their kind of two priorities here, to eliminate priority use pesticides by 2050 and to make sustainable pest management the normal adopted way of tackling a pest pressure in your field. So here's where Farm Bureau farmers have a little heartburn with this. They have yet to define for us what a priority pesticide is. So we don't know which ones they're looking at to take off the table. So we're not sure what tools are going to be taken away. In the meantime, other opportunities for pest control haven't really gotten to the level yet of some of those pesticides that we're currently using. So if you were, my guess is, to ask our members, hey, how do you feel about this? They're going to say to you, we don't mind if you're going to take some of the pesticide tools out of our toolbox, but there needs to be replacements before you do that. And so that's part of, the communication that we have with DPR, and we'll talk more about that communication when we get into the ones. And then the other thing, the sustainable pest management. This is like Anna's personal heartburn with this phrase. we all, as an industry, we already practice IPM, okay? Integrated pest management, where we already have PCAs, pest control advisors, coming out and doing things like placing traps and monitoring for pest pressures and making, you know, economic decisions about, okay, when the pest pressure has reached a certain threshold, does it make sense economically to come in with a pesticide? Or is it at a level where we can just kind of maintain and understanding that there'll be some damage, but it's still not detrimental to the crop and what will make this current year? We are already doing that. There's a whole permitting system in place that requires PCAs to show legally, actually, the other avenues that they have exhausted before writing essentially a prescription for a pesticide to be used on the field. So now that we've kind of come in with sustainable pest management, it leaves a lot of us kind of scratching our heads saying, isn't this what we're already doing? And you just kind of renamed it. So this is something that has been worrisome for us as an industry because there's a lot of big question marks still. They have an implementation date and haven't really laid out their plan yet as to what that will look like. But when we get to the next section, we'll talk about some kind of fruitful conversations that we've had with DPR in the last year. So before we go to the next one, any questions on?
So you're saying the farmer needs to be licensed to be able to use the pest control? Is that what I heard you say?
So if you want to use a restricted material, California restricted material or a federally restricted material, you as a grower, you are going to apply for the department. You have to be individually certified and your ground has to be permitted with our local ag commissioner's office.
Okay.
Yeah, and then all of that requires continuing education. Right. Yes, sir.
So my first question is, who brought forth this?
This idea, so they put together a work group. They,
No, who's they?
DPR,
Who's DPR?
Department of Pesticide Regulation. So
Unelected bureaucrats.
she is not elected. She is appointed. Yeah, the head of the pyramid,
Okay,
reports directly to our governor. Yeah,
I'll get to my question.
yeah,
Supreme Court ruled about 2 weeks ago.
yes,
Okay, the regulation of the fishermen back east, that unelected officials do not have power unless Congress or the state actually passes a law that dictates this. So what I predict is going to happen is a bunch of these agencies that are unelected officials, where there isn't federal or state laws, that these things are going to go by the wayside. Based on the ruling of
here's hoping.
well, based on the ruling of the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And particularly if there's a new a group in Washington, DC in January, it absolutely.
Yeah.
And the state of California, still questionable. But my understanding is that any of these regulations that are put forth by any of these unelected bureaucrats are now unlawful.
Well, we
And
haven't,
is the question,
well,
was that a question?
No, that's a state.
he's.
Oh, I thought you were asking a question.
No,
So-
the question would be, do you agree?
Here's what we know about California, right? We tend to march to our own drum, and in some ways, it makes us fantastic, right? We have over 400 unique commodities here, and some of those can't even be grown anywhere else in the world. So that is something to raise our flag about. What we also know is we have multiple layers of regulatory agencies that other states are not dealing with. And if you were to go to another state, there's a state ag department. They do some pesticide permitting, they do some pesticide licensing. We have this tiered system, so we've got US EPA, Cal EPA, Department of Pesticide Regulation, and then every county has an ag commissioner who employs a team of pesticide inspectors who go out and roam the county and stop people when they're spraying pesticides to do a safety evaluation. So whatever way you want to spin that, good or bad, frankly, I feel like it gives us an opportunity to say, we have the safest food source in the world because of the way in which we monitor pesticide use. The flip side of that is it's very expensive to comply. You know, we're talking about training and PPE and, you know, there's a, you know, we don't codes, I can if you want to, but, it's a lot, right? And so if do I think that there'll be some changes? Absolutely. If we get a Republican president, there will definitely see changes. We saw changes 4 years ago, when there was this checks and balance between Republican in the White House and Democrat in the governor's seat. It doesn't really matter what political party we're talking about. It just, Republicans tend to kind of erode some of the government control, whereas in this particular case, we're seeing a layering of it.
No, I'm not passing judgment. Making an opinion whether this is good or bad.
I am.
I'm simply, no, I'm simply saying
Yeah,
that if in fact it is a good thing, they should pass a law
yeah.
and codify it and then fine.
Yeah, and typically when we see additional pesticide regulations, there is, just like Cal OSHA, there is a process, right? They have to bring something forward based on scientific evidence. It goes through multiple hearing committees, there's public notification. We're going to one on Friday where we will chime in, they're holding one in Turlock, where we will chime in on a proposed statewide notification system. I mean, typically there's some due process to this. This guy kind of went, hit the freeway in front of him, so, but again, a challenge.
Excuse me, when you say pass a law, do you mean the federal level or the state level?
It doesn't matter whether it's federal or state. We elect, we would be democracy. We elect our officials, okay? And we empower them to make laws, okay? We do not empower them to create regulations through bureaucracy.
I did hear.
That's not a law, okay? So all I'm simply saying is I'm not passing judgment for any of this stuff is right or wrong.
Just advance it.
It's only if, in fact, it's a good thing, then either take it to the voters and have the voters vote on it and or pass a law by the elected officials that say, and it codifies that well, this is what should happen.
Well,
And some of it's common sense.
Just a whole new problem.
So-
Keep in mind,
fantastic.
as a fisherman, and you know this, we've talked about this, there are a lot of reasons
Yeah,
that go beyond politics. So I'd like to hear what else you have to say.
so speaking of voting and people voicing how they feel about things is a great segue into our next challenge. So right now, Sonoma County has a ballot measure that they will vote on this fall that has potential to ban confined animal agriculture in their county. Now, the definition of confined is very challenging here. So basically, you put an animal behind a fence or in a barn and reach some sort of number threshold, and if that number is very small, they're saying no more, we cannot have it in our county. Sonoma County has a lot of laying operations and family dairies. So the background on this, there is a extremist animal activist group called DXE, Direct Action Anywhere, Everywhere. They've actually been in our county before. If you remember a few years back, there was an incident kind of northeast Oakdale where somebody stole a calf from a dairy. And the sheriff's office was out in full force and all of that. That was DXE. They claimed they were saving the calf. Right, but you know, you can't just walk on somebody's property and take their things like that, right? So basically, this direct action group got enough signatures to get this ballot measure on the ballot for this fall. And the way that they're the way that they're talking to people about it is, you know, you don't want animals to be harmed, do you? You don't want animals to just be kept in cages, do you? Well, that's not really what the ballot measure says. So they acquired enough signatures, it's on the ballot. Of course, Sonoma County Farm Bureau has put together, frankly, a very beautiful campaign trying to educate people as to what the ramifications of this change would look like. We as a, well, we'll talk about this in wins, but we as a county farm bureau are supporting them in every way that we can, financially, education. We plan on volunteering. They're gonna do some, you know, walk the streets kind of thing, you know, knock on doors. We plan to volunteer call center to help fight this. The concern for us is if it passes in Sonoma County, they will just continue to go county by county.
So are you saying that it's gonna take away all fencing?
No, they will ban confined animal agriculture, period.
So the animals can't even be.
So the animals cannot be there. You cannot, it's, I don't know what the exact numbers is, but it's something like, what's the threshold on dairy? It's like, yeah, I was gonna
Very
say
low, I
50
know.
cows, I mean. Nobody's milking 50 cows, you can't make any money doing that. So basically, if you have more than 50 cows, you are not allowed to keep them in Sonoma County.
I mean, and they're well known for dairy and like Anna was saying, egg production, so laying hens, but I mean, this would apply to like horses in a barn, right? If there were 40 horses in a barn, no long, I mean, it's just like, it's pretty wild.
And they come up with the limit for acreage kind of comes up.
Yeah, so there's some, you know, real numbers in the ballot measure, but basically it's any confined animal agriculture. So Sonoma County Farm Bureau has hired a team, they've been doing a lot of polling. They obviously are trying to do a ton of education before the vote comes.
So is there a, you said if you had 40 cows or if you had 40 horses, is there a number?
There is a number. I believe,
What's the?
I don't know what the number is off the top
Well,
of my
that
head.
should be important because if you're recreational, you know, and you have horses that you ride or, you know, you.
Well, the impact will be to production agriculture. It's not gonna be to grandma and grandpa who keep 5 horses in the back pasture for their grandkids to ride.
Well, you don't know that.
I do know that. That's the, they're using the
It
term
doesn't
confined animal
sound very
agriculture.
definitive.
Well, I don't have those numbers for you right now, but I'm not. Yeah, we're not talking about mom and pop. You know, I keep a
talking
couple of
about
cows because I
businesses.
like to drink unpasteurized milk. This is, you know, families who are making their living on animal production agriculture,
So that would be beef cattle, it would be milk,
all animals.
cattle,
Yes,
chickens, eggs.
yep. Swine,
Pigs.
yes,
Goats from Mount Colin.
yeah.
Horses do have a limit in there, like,
Yeah.
and
All the elitists in Sonoma County, they all grow grapes.
Well, there's
They
kind of
don't-
this
they don't
weird,
particularly
because there's
care about it.
I'll have a quote here in a little bit, maybe it's the next slide. But there are still a lot of family farms in Sonoma County. So, you know, multiple generations on one property, who have dairy animals and laying hens. And that will be the end of their
So
legacy,
besides
something like this.
Stanislaus County partnering with Sonoma County, or other
Oh, yeah.
counties partnering with them.
Yeah, if you go to their website, there's, I don't know, 100 different organizations now, including multiple county farm bureaus who have signed on to be of support. And I'll share when we get into our wins column, like we've all made financial contributions to help them fight this. I personally made a financial contribution because the frightening thing is if DXC gains ground in Sonoma County, they will not stop there, right? They'll have a win to tote and they'll move on to a next county. And you better believe that they targeted Sonoma County for the very thing that you just said, is there's a very split population, right? We've got our farmers, ranchers and dairymen, but then we've got some maybe folks, use the word elitist, I don't want to use that one, but got some folks that maybe don't have a connection to production ag. And so when they're just, you know, walking out the grocery store and they're approached by somebody who says, you don't believe animals should be in cages, do you? Well, that's terrible. I'm gonna
Is
try
the
it.
membership of the county ag up there, is it pretty divided between farmers and people who are wine growers?
I don't know what their membership numbers look like.
yeah, I don't know Sonoma County.
Yeah,
Farm Bureau well enough to know exactly. I know that I'll go out on a limb here and say all of Sonoma County
Yeah.
agriculture is pretty up in arms about this, whether you're a wine grape grower or you have a small organic farm and you're taking peaches to the farmer's market, or you're in animal agriculture, pretty united.
I mean, this is how you pick things off, right, is you divide and, you know, they can take one county off, then they'll just go to the next one. Yeah. questions, sir?
I just want to clarify, that. I originally thought that it was a conflict between, what I call the farmer rancher conflict between crop and animal growth. And now it seems to me that the conflict between the agricultural, the people that actually do the work, and what I call civilian, so
Yeah.
maybe like we really know what the first thing about animal or husbandry or plant cultivation or anything. But I mean, sure, we like to be humane toward animals, but what costs? Does everyone want to pay double for?
Yeah.
Twice the money?
Well, and I can tell you just
Mhm.
how a human is, right? If I don't treat you well, if you don't get enough sleep, if you don't get enough nutrition, if you're not kept in a home that is, kept at reasonable temperatures, you won't do well, right? You'll get sick. Animals are the same thing, right? A
Okay.
dairy cow is not gonna perform at her best if she's not being cared for.
So there are natural incentives.
Absolutely.
For farmers to treat animals reasonably well.
Yeah,
And, layman like me, can really tell farmer, how to run the dairy farm, how to run his.
well, I would say, yes, but ask the question, right? I mean, I think that's maybe one of the things that agriculture doesn't always do well is engage in the dialogue with folks that aren't in ag. Our members tend to be pretty private people who are farmers because they enjoy spending time in a tractor, not standing in front of a room speaking, right? So, that's something for us to think about too when we're thinking about speaking with consumers. Yeah, so here, this is a perfect example. So here we've got this is a cage-free organic egg operation. I mean, how much more PC can we get? And this is a third generation Petaluma farmer named Jordan. And he's saying this is an attack on all of Sonoma County, not just farmers. This group is coming from out of our area, trying to force their beliefs on our community. We must stand together as a community and support each other and our local food supply. And again, going back to my statement previously, we do have the safest food supply in the world. If it is produced in California because of the regulatory system that we have to abide by. And so pushing these operations out of our county will bring them to ship things in. And when you're buying things from other countries, there's no guarantee in how they are raising or growing them.
Where did you say this organization's from?
DXE is actually, they started in Berkeley, but they've got kind of hot pockets throughout the state now.
But just California.
That I'm aware of.
Yeah, I don't,
I can tell you just in our chatting with our Stanislaus County Sheriff, they watch these guys. And if their social media schedule that they're gonna be in our county, our sheriffs prepare for it because they know it's gonna be an issue. Yeah. I'll let PD speak to insurance.
okay,
The fun one.
this is a super fun one. So everybody knows, or has probably been watching, wildfires tend to be a major issue here in California. So Stanislaus County Farm Bureau, we also manage Tuolumne County Farm Bureau, and this is something that we see probably especially highlighted in our mountain counties, but that's the loss of insurance. And this is, we're kind of continually seeing many insurance providers pull out of California, no longer writing plans in California, refusing to cover a lot of areas within the state of California. Just in general, it's a huge issue, and it's affecting farms and ranches up and down our state. And kind of the other thing is massive price increase. So Tuolumne County resident here, actually Tuolumne County Farm Bureau, Farm Bureau partnered with Nationwide. We love Nationwide, they do a great job. Tuolumne County Farm Bureau in Tuolumne County in Sonora was dropped. Like all insurance providers were dropped. A lot of us been forced into the California Fair Plan, which is not particularly fair, if you ask me. It's extremely expensive. Your coverage is horrific. And so this is something that we are looking at. I'm sure at the chamber, this is something you guys are monitoring and seeing a lot of. There's a lot happening within California with our insurance commissioner around insurance. But anyway, yeah, you're going to continue to see high insurance prices and a lot of stuff happening kind of around this specific topic. So with that, I know we've got.
Is that supposed to say price?
No, it's supposed to say, yeah, price. That was the typo.
No princess.
No, price. I mean, not that I'm aware.
Princess, right. Okay, I'm just switching to card check. This is another super scary one. So this was a bill that is kind of jokingly, we say sometimes in California, the same bad bill just keeps coming back up. So you defeat it 1 year, it comes back in a new form. You defeat it again, it comes back in a new form, and then you get there. Well, this is one of those bills. So card check passed, I believe 2 years ago now. The governor signed it into law. We were actually able to get him to veto it twice before that. We've had a lot of success in fighting card check. But what this is card check maybe isn't super clear as what it means. And so what it is it's a new process for unionization on farms. And what it does is it allows for a secret ballot. So there's a certain process that you have to go through for unionization on your organization or your operation. This one now actually is a whole new language, whole new way, and you can have like a secret ballot. So employers wouldn't even know that they've already been unionized. Once your property has like your company on your current site has been unionized, even if your company, like you're done, like you're unionized, there's nothing you can do. We've seen some major issues. And so probably one of the problems.
Is that just for ag or is that for any business?
So so the Agricultural Labor Relations Act used to be what we followed, and it required that a union like UFW, they had to come on, they would make the employer aware that they were coming onto their ground. The employer can't step in between, right? They have to allow the conversations to happen and they have to allow a vote to occur. When this card check passed, it stripped away that process. And so now union organizers can approach people off site. The employer does not have to be made aware that they are talking to their employees about unionization. And we've had several occurrences in which the employer gets a notice from the ALRB, you've been unionized, and they didn't have a chance to be part of the process, have conversations with anybody. And so, and as Katie was alluding to, we'll explain the wonderful one. This is.
Oh, yeah, this one. So essentially what happened is the employees of this company were sent from a third party company a postcard about coming to an event. Come join us. There is this program, this farm worker program right now that offers a $600 incentive to check for $600 or a gift card for $600, for housing and all these.
It was tied to like COVID money.
Yeah. So anyway, come get your $600 check. Hear our presentation, and then all you have to do is show up, right? So
And sign this card.
and sign this card, and that's the kicker. So a bunch of people came. They heard a little bit about what was going on about this incentive program. Signed up.
To get the 600.
A little bit misleading if you're thinking you're coming for a $600, card that you're gonna be getting, and suddenly, this company is now unionized. And so there's several employees that have said that they were, unaware of what they were signing. There's a whole issue that's coming out, around this, because of maybe some of the tactics that were used to get that. So, this is something scary. It's something we're watching closely. So far, we've seen it a lot down south. So
Yeah.
San Diego's been hit.
Bigger, so they're targeting right now, it seems, larger operations. I don't know if folks are familiar, but wonderful companies are the Resniks, right? So they employ,
Did this happen in our county?
not yet.
Yeah.
They're not real enough.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem to be upfront,
Yeah,
right? I am not against folks unionizing if that's what they believe is best for the workforce. It just seems in this particular case, or cases, people are being misled as to what they're agreeing to. And in this case of the wonderful companies, the employees actually have now signed affidavits saying, we did not agree to unionization, we were misled, and told that we were receiving a $600 COVID check. So, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And the reversal process is frankly undefined.
I don't know if
right?
I've ever even seen it happen.
So it's worrisome. It's really worrisome.
So by the time they're unionized, they've made their own agreements and those are then being imposed on the employer.
Yes,
He doesn't negotiate.
and that's really the first time the employer is seen.
So
So
the other way, he'd have opportunity to negotiate
Yes.
agreements with.
Yeah. And this is fairly new, as Katie mentioned, it was just passed and we're just seeing it, so I think there's like 3 open cases right now, Wonderful being one of them. I was the UFW, I wouldn't have gone after them first because they have the pocketbook to pay for the attorneys to fight this. So time will tell on this, I mean, I feel like these kind of original cases will set precedent as to how it unfolds. Stanislaus County, we are kind of unique in that our average grower is 40 acres. It's likely that we are not carrying a big target for UFW. However, how agricultural employees though are treated in this state affects all of us, so.
Look what they did with Hershey's.
It
They
is-
just leave. That's why they left.
Yeah,
So let me ask you a question. Take your average employer here. What's a per hour rate that they pay? You know,
well, it depends, right? We've got minimum wage, but in talking to our board members, I would say we're probably closer to like $20 an hour. In order to
and
keep a
so
good
if they're
person.
paying 20. And if they're unionized, what's the pay?
I don't know, I think it varies based on union.
Let me tell you the reason I asked. At Seymour, I'm retired vice president, Seymour. We had a number of our stores that were union. And a number of our stores that were union. Before stuff like this happened, if the store wanted to unionize. The union would let us know
Yes,
that they talk to employees, and so they'd have an opportunity to come in and, we'd give them that opportunity to come in, and then we'd talk. Whether it was a unionized store or a non-unionized store, they had the same pay. They got the same benefits. And they got profit share, regardless of whether they were union or not. So there's really no benefit, except now you had to pay the union
now you can
dues. However, a number of the stores to unionize, and that was fine. That was fine because unfortunately that money came out of their pocket. Because nothing changed for the company. Because we paid the same rate of pay regardless. And that the only problem we ever had was always the local union for the Valley was different than the local union for the Bear. And they kept trying to bring Bay Area wages into the Valley. The cost of living is different than that.
Yeah,
And we're able to always say no to that. But the difference between union and non-union is.
well, we will, obviously, this is something we're following and we'll keep a pulse on. It'll be interesting to see how this particular one, the whole company plays out, because I don't think. There's another nursery that's kind of in the middle of this, they're in San Diego County. They probably won't be fighting it to the extent that these guys will. And it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, but. Yeah, so something that passed recently that's impacting us. Okay, so let's talk about some fun stuff. We're gonna go over some wins. So Katie's gonna talk about some recent defeated water bills. What's the old saying? Whiskey's for drinking, water's for fighting over. Definitely the case here in the state. We're gonna do a positive spin on Department of Pesticide Regulation. We posted them a couple times in our county in an effort and opportunities to educate. We're going to talk about the formation of our foundation, our efforts to support Sonoma County, and then a little update on what we've been doing in the workforce development world.
So very good news in the last year, we had 3 major water bills that came up that would have drastically impacted water here in Central Valley and across California, but it's something we're particularly concerned about here in Stanislaus County with a lot of our water rights. And I know Dana's on right now with MID.
So I was checking, I think she fell off.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I'll say Dana is probably much more of an expert on all of these than I can, but the top 2 here would have definitely changed what water rights looked like and allocation of those water rights that feed our local irrigation districts that allow Stanislaus County to have ready and available water for ag and all, you know, municipal purposes, and also would affect, I mean, as citizens in Modesto, your rates on your electricity bill that allow, you know, great industry that we have here in Modesto. So we were really happy to see these defeated. This third one was all about groundwater. And again, this was something we had like last year when we went in, we had 3 things we were talking about. It was these 3 things right here because these were dramatic and really impactful for Stanislaus County agriculture and agriculture across the state. So this is a big win. We're really, really proud of these. It took a lot of legwork, not just from Farm Bureau. Farm Bureau did, in fact, do a lot of legwork, but the irrigation districts were super duper good on making sure that they were also fighting these 3. So this was a big win for us.
Yeah, well, so we don't often get those big ones.
Yeah, we're gonna tell them.
Typically, it's like, oh, what we didn't let cross the.
What's left on the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
So with that.
And then, okay, so as I was chatting about previously, this sustainable pest management, right? It was, these ideas gave our board pause for concern, so we decided to reach out to DPR. And so we invited the director and deputy director of DPR to come see us and spend some time with us. They did twice in the last year. And we hosted kind of a roundtable discussion where we invited farmers, ranchers, dairymen, processors, PTAs, had a really good conversation about what are your expectations? What are we actually doing in the field? Not surprisingly, DPR doesn't have a really great grasp as to what's happening in the field. So the positive was good conversations. We did farm tours. So we visited with conventional growers. We visited with organic growers. We went to a Huller Sheller processor. And we were able to ask some tough questions. We had family farms. We had a couple like smaller growers, larger growers. We were just trying to give them a taste. This is the diversity of farming we have in this county. You all are governing what we do in California. They need to understand that kind of blanketing SPM on all of us doesn't really work, right? And we've got some fantastic folks on our board and growers members who can speak, you know, pretty intelligently about this topic. And so we felt like it was a win. They walked away, I think, with a better understanding of who we are and what we were really trying to do. We've invited them to come back during harvest. They've never seen this. I know, I'm scratching my head. No pesticides during harvest, right? But they want to see us shake hands. So we'll have them back again. Couple other things. I mentioned the statewide notification. This is what will be interlocked for on Friday. DPR has some proposed regulations that would have a statewide pesticide notification program. So our county, we've been so blessed with really great ag commissioners for years, frankly. In the time that I've been around, I've seen 4 of them. They've all been pro-education and, you know, only coming down with a hammer when it makes sense. And we have that right now with Linda, who is our ag commissioner, and previously Kamal, but they piloted the program in Grayson to do this kind of mini statewide notification. So in essence, it's, hey, you live in a farming area, you want to know if Farmer Joe, your next door neighbor, is spraying so that you can close your windows, or bring your bicycle in case of drift, right? In theory, not a bad idea, right? To have this communication between neighbors if there's gonna be some pesticide spray work, right? When I do pesticide trainings, the first thing I always say is, why do we use a pesticide? And my really like intelligent class will say, oh, to control, this pressure. And I'm like, yeah, that's a nice way. We're actually killing something, right? Side, that word in there. So when we're using this product, there is opportunity that it can harm things that we don't intend it to, which is why we have to use them responsibly. So communication is one of those elements. The problem that we have, Farm Bureau has with the statewide notification is there is no educational element. You can sign up, you can be in Missouri and sign up for notification. You can be anonymous, right? You never have to say who you are, but you'll have access to all of the spray records in the state of California. With no sort of follow-up as to what pesticides are being used. And what the ramifications are if you were to come into contact with it. Not to get too much in the weeds, but every pesticide goes through tremendous testing before it is allowed to come to market. And as you can imagine, in California, there is stuff that is able to be used in other states that we don't even allow here because it doesn't meet our thresholds. But every label is written for the applicator, the person actually handling the pesticide, and then farm workers. So people who are working in areas where pesticides have been used previously. There is no science around what Joe homeowner should really do if my neighbor is frank. And so that's been part of our heartburn. My concern is it's gonna create a sky is falling attitude where we think because there is a pesticide application that it means we're gonna get sick, little Johnny's gonna get sick, or it'll be the flip side. How many of you don't walk into McDonald's because there's a Proposition 65 sign? Do you even pay attention to it anymore? No, we disregard it because it's everywhere. If I was looking into my crystal ball, part of me would think that's kind of where this will probably end up. The other issue is, it seems like a great tool for attorneys who just want to sue people. Because they'll be able to keep a log of who sprayed and when, and then be able to go after folks. Even though there isn't any indication that they broke a pesticide regulation. So that's what Friday will be about. We'll be interlock, making sure that some of our statements go on record. And then the last one is the increased mill tax. They basically want to charge pesticide manufacturers more money to sell their products in the state of California so that they can increase their pesticide use monitoring here. Basically have more inspectors. Which limits the manufacturers are basically going, screw you, California, we won't sell you anymore. Because we're kind of unique too in that, almonds, walnuts, corn and oats, they're not selling the quantities of pesticides to us that they are in the Midwest, right? Where we've got these huge operations, wheat, soybeans and things like that. So interesting in the pesticide world right now.
So before you move on.
Yeah.
I have a suggestion for you. When you're speaking to a non-farm group like us, when you use PCA and SPM, I don't know what the hell those are. You might in the future when you're talking to your normal audience, they probably know what those acronyms are. We don't, so you might just spell those out.
Quick question, have you noticed a move toward, let's say, from chemical to biological pesticide, and there's one that's safer than the other?
I wouldn't say safer, right? If you use a pesticide in accordance to the label,
Okay, labeling.
you're safe. Yeah, the label is the law, so it doesn't matter if you're an employee or the owner, you have to do what the label says. But there is an increase in biologicals. I just had a speaker come. They've created a little gizmo that attaches to a drone that it kind of rolls, and as it rolls, the beneficial insects are dropped out in a certain pattern. And it's part of an integrated pest management program, right? You put, you've got bug B in the field, but bug A likes to eat bug B. If you get bug A out there at the right time, before bug B gets too many of them, you can actually control it through those methods. And now they're figuring out how to control it in a more uniform way. Yeah, I mean, so there's like really cool stuff going on. It feels like as an industry, we're already moving towards
At least
sustainable
here.
pest management.
Probably more here in California too.
I think because specialty crops typically, not this year, have a higher rate, right? Like you're gonna make more probably off of gammons than you would corn. There's probably more research going into those types of crops. Yeah,
Higher value added.
yeah, like you're gonna be real careful with your strawberries, right? Cause those buddies are expensive, but you've got, you know, if you're in the Midwest and have acres and acres of soybeans, you might be, you know, looking at the budget and going, oh, you're gonna save me 2 pennies, it may not be worth, you know, the change of equipment or technology. Yeah. Good question.
Cool, I'll jump in. Our foundation, we started in the last year. So we're at Stanislaus County Farm Bureau Foundation is our 501c3, because we're a 501c5 at Farm Bureau. And we're really gonna focus on kind of 3 buckets. So we've got our youth education programs. So we do about 1,200 third graders every year go through an ag day at Turlock. So there's some opportunity to do additional ag days, outreach to more classrooms, more stuff, you know, hands-on or on the farm for youth in our county. So we're really excited about that. We have a great scholarship program and we partner with MJC to give scholarships every year. We're really looking forward to expanding some of those opportunities for kids that are going to go on to pursue agriculture, and we hope that they will come right back here to Stanislaus County. And then other 2 buckets here, we are grower training. So we offer a huge variety. Anna is an excellent trainer, and she's great at coordinating a ton of opportunities for our growers to have continuing education on pesticide, education for their employees, different classes that are both required and not required, so that growers have that opportunity to receive those classes, and their employees can come right here at Farm Bureau. And then our last bucket is consumer education. That's your social media, your videos, and relating to people who maybe aren't in our industry but are consuming the good products that are grown by us. So we're really excited about the launch of our foundation. So kind of stay tuned. We'll have a bunch more information coming out here.
Yeah, I think next year this time we'll be able to say.
So you guys are in the process of applying for multiple employer ETP.
We actually decided not to.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, the cap on the hourly rate did not match what we think are the needs of our members. You know, that was kind of the piece that didn't work for us. Because any sort of train the trainer, which is what we would have been looking at, forklift train the trainer, tractor train the trainer, suicide train the trainer. All of that is much higher than that like $20 an hour threshold that they threw out there. You know, our industry isn't really looking for Microsoft Office, right? I mean, in some cases we've got a few one-offs, but mostly we're looking at equipment, chemicals. You know, I can send somebody to ICE training in Sacramento, which is every sort of forklift you could ever imagine, and it's $5,000 for them to go. And that program just didn't work. We've actually found that we can get more bang for our buck using local workforce dollars. Paperwork still cumbersome, but we can actually lower the prices that way.
Actually, you go to the next one.
Yeah. Oh, it's the next one. We'll come back. It's okay. Okay, so let's talk about our efforts to support Sonoma County. So we talked about this anti-animal agriculture in Sonoma County. We don't take it lightly, right? So our county farm bureau has done a monetary donation to their campaign to oppose, right? Speak no on Measure J. It was the cover story on our dairy industry. We have an insert going out with our Farm Bureau paper to educate folks about it. We've done videos, social media work, and if you click on this little guy for me, this is just an example. There we go. Of one of the videos we did.
And the sound worked. Yes.
So what we were finding early on when they got enough signatures to get it on the ballot, that even folks in agriculture, unless they were in Sonoma County, didn't know it was happening. So Katie invited the director of Sonoma County Farm Bureau to one of our board meetings. Her name's Dana. She was able to kind of bring us up to speed, and then our board said, do what you need to do to communicate and educate and get other people on board. So that's kind of those efforts. And I believe our next slide. Oh, we can watch the chicken again. Okay, so last time we were here, we talked about kind of a new adventure with workforce development. And I thought it would be nice to kind of bring you all up to speed as to where we are. We're entering into year 3. We've had some great successes. So we just signed the contract for year 3. So we have a partnership with Stanislaus County Workforce Development. We are one of their sector partners. Basically, they had some money earmarked for agriculture, but didn't have the relationships with farmers, ranchers, and dairymen. So they use us as kind of the conveyor to get the two folks together, to bring training and upskilling opportunities to them, supplemented by workforce development funds, right? So the grower, the employer isn't having to pay the full ticket. In the last 2 years, we've had 40 graduates in our supervisory development program, agricultural specific program. Actually, I take that back, 40 graduates a year.
Yeah.
We do a class 20 in English, 20 in Spanish. They meet at Farm Bureau, so they're off the work site. It's during paid working hours.
Nice.
Workforce is paying part of the employer fee so that we can play the trainer. And then at the very last session, this is my favorite day of all, is we host a graduation ceremony. So we bring in a nice meal, everybody gets acknowledged, they shake hands with the trainer, they get a diploma. And this last one that just wrapped up spring of this year, and the Spanish group in particular, there was like this intense camaraderie that built amongst the classmates. So much so that when they all graduated and shook hands and whatnot, they wanted a class picture to commemorate their training. So that's pretty fantastic. I mean, it kind of gives me warm and fuzzy, and I'm like, oh, we're doing something good. The other thing that keeps coming up, gang, so we invite the ag community twice a year to Farm Bureau to talk about, okay, what is missing in new hires and folks on your team that you're really wanting but maybe can't afford. Overwhelmingly, we're hearing soft skills training. And in my chats with Stanislaus County Workforce Development, this is not an ag specific issue. This is everybody everywhere. New hires in particular do not know how to answer the phone, right? They're on their phones. They certainly do not know what to do with an angry customer. Emails are phrased like text messages, like there's just a thing that we maybe all assume like they figured out when they had like a high school job or maybe a job in college, because it's not just high school students coming into workforce, it's college graduates who are missing these skills. So we're working right now, I think we've identified some curriculum that would be good for our industry, including, I'm really kind of geeked out about this, they'll have to dress professionally, they'll be business professional dress when they come to the class. We are looking at incorporating a formal dinner out so that they get used to, we like to have a business meeting and utensils to use. And so stay tuned. Hopefully we'll have more on that next year.
Take video of that.
I know, I'm so excited. Katie and I are both Leadership Farm Bureau graduates, which is a leadership program that California Farm Bureau does. And they do spend a whole session on etiquette and professional dress and what's appropriate when you're going to DC versus, you know, walking into your county office of education, right? And it's stuff that if you haven't had any exposure to that, how would you know, right? This is really cool, English and Spanish classes. So in partnership with Stanislaus County Workforce, they just got a $500,000 grant to bring English and Spanish language classes with an agricultural emphasis. So I'm not just taking folks and sending them to MJC Spanish 101. It will be curriculum specifically for on-farm work. We haven't quite nailed in the trainer yet. We're working on that. But we will we'll really start having intense conversations in October, and we plan to kick off our first class in January. So we'll offer, and it'll be held during business hours, so folks will be paid, right? We're not asking them to, you know, spend their evenings away from their families. And then workforce will pay for it with the grant. So I'm super excited about that. And that's something that's from year one came out in the first meeting. Like, there are folks who speak English who want to learn farm Spanish, and folks who speak Spanish who want to learn farm English. I think we'll be able to build that pretty easily. And then this year, a major goal for us, year 3, is more engagement. We're having these like big community meetings and folks are showing up, but we've got a handful of folks that are more engaged than others. And so this year we have zoned in on who those ones are, and then workforce along with Farm Bureau will be having one-on-one meetings with them and putting together basically curriculum programs for them to execute at their place of business. So not just kind of the community trainings that we've been doing, like the supervisory development one, but specific to that grower's needs for their team. So it's like a win-win-win. I mean, workforce needs to spend the money. We are under contract for them, so the time that we spend executing, we're paid for, and then we give the growers the training they need at a discounted price. And then I'm able to go back to workforce and go, you need to remove some of the bureaucracy so we can make it easier, and then they do about that. So it's been pretty great.
What you say, I'm the vice chair of workforce.
Yes.
Right. And so don't say they just need to spend the money. We don't just need to spend the money. If you guys do a good job, which you have been doing, then it's very easy for us to re-up the program, and actually we have to then go to Washington DC to get more money.
Yeah.
Right. So the better job you guys do, the easier it is for us to get money.
Yeah.
And you guys are doing a good job.
Well,
This is a great program.
Thanks. So if you have questions for Katie or I, or frankly, anybody on our team, we all kind of wear our own hats in terms of where we specialize. You need to talk water, the best bet is Katie and Tom. You want to know pesticides, come talk to me. If you want to learn more about membership, chat with Ms. Abby. We have a pretty great team. And we're just
Whose farm is that, you know?
this is one of the ones that we took with her cousin. So is that, yeah, Mass and Turlock, Daenerys.
I have a quick question. You mentioned pesticides. I saw an article about San Joaquin and their tomatoes with the bug that they're
Yeah.
calling it an emergency.
Yes,
right now.
sorry.
So do we have any,
We do.
is there any?
We have the same emergency order. So DPR fortunately does have a program where it's either falls under special local need, or there's another program, I can't think of the name. But basically, if there's a pest pressure and we know that a certain pesticide will knock that pest out, but maybe the label doesn't allow for us to spray it on that commodity or during that time frame or whatever, DPR will analyze it as a special local need and do an emergency label for it so that we can use it for that particular problem. But it's a huge process, and the ag commissioner is heavily involved. So they're out to
So
take
basically
samples.
the tomatoes will be gone by the time they do it.
Well, hopefully not. Again, we have a great ag commissioner that's very proactive and frankly progressive. She was the one who said to us, invite DPR, let's take them around.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think Linda is doing everything in her realm of power to make sure that the growers have the tools they need to knock this guy down. We tend to see more of it on the west side, obviously, tomatoes are being grown, but they actually think it comes off the trucks on Highway 5. That's how it's being introduced.
Oh,
Yeah.
There's like certain conditions that make that particular pest, it's a leaf blocker.
Yes. Something.
Yeah, it'll come to me in a second. More prevalent, and so like this year, because we had a good rain year, right? So we had a lot of water, feed grew, feed dried out on the hillside. So all these,
Yeah.
you know, climate factors, you know, led itself to be a heavy year for this particular pest. So recognizing that early, which our ag commissioner, our board of supervisors, sheriff, because the sheriff is, the head of emergency.
Yeah,
Or
oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, there we go. All of those factors came together to declare that state of emergency here in Stanislaus County. Fairly early, which allowed them to use a particular pesticide, that would, if needed, right? So there's a couple of different things that they might try. They'd have to get a recommendation from their pest control advisor, that certified person, in order to be able to use this, so that the rules, regulations to be able to use it are still there in place and, you know, fairly heavy, but it gives them the tool in the toolbox, which is super important. Good question. Great question.
What makes you guys a C5 versus C6? I assumed you were C6. Is
You
it
know,
an ag focus?
I don't know. I mean, I always knew that we weren't a P3 because we advocated.
It's the same reason we
Yeah,
are.
Yeah, so we, in fact, coming up here in August, we have people seeking Farm Bureau endorsement, so we host a night where they can come and speak directly to our board and request endorsement. I don't know, I
We
mean,
have that ability too. I mean, we can advocate.
Yeah.
That's what makes us a C6, but I didn't realize we were different. No, we were the same.
yeah, I don't know.
I think it's an industry thing, but I can get back. I don't know the answer.
And I don't know what the, we are 110 years old, so,
We're 112.
yeah, so if we would have had the same opportunities, yeah,
I have a feeling it's industry. Let's
Yeah.
Call it out, something more focused.
But part of the reason we sought the formation of the foundation is because when Wayne Zipso retired about 2 years ago, we had 2 entities come to us with a gift. And we did not have a mechanism
Yeah, I
in
just
which
got,
to
my
recoup it.
designation letter came in January. We did it for similar reasons.
Yeah,
Taking-
so now we're hoping to, you know, be able to accept those things and of what we're doing in scholarships and education and maybe even start some. new programs.
Awesome.
I was gonna ask you,
Yeah.
this is really great, I enjoyed it, but you're talking about the pesticide, do you work with the congressmen and senators and all that on getting things changed? Is that something you work on?
Yeah, so one of the beauties of our relationship with the ag commissioner, and then we have Tom Orvis, who's on our team, who is our political guru. You know, often has the ear of local representatives, and so when they come to us with questions about, you know, legislation that's being proposed, or we reach out to them and say, this is not good for us, we have the opportunity to set up those conversations so they can talk to growers and,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and honestly, Farm Bureau's endorsement is pretty popular, and our requirements are they have to request our endorsement. We don't get involved in a race unless they reach out to us.
Mhm.
And in the 5 years that I've been with Farm Bureau and a handful of years that I was on the board before becoming an employee, I don't remember anyone not coming to us. So we're pretty lucky that we can have those conversations with those folks. And some of them are members, like John,
Oh.
right? He's a Farm Bureau, long time member, former board member. Yeah, and it's grow.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for coming back and visiting with us, sharing your updates. See what's left online here.